Hey everybody, it's me here, Michael Franti on the Stay Human podcast. Man, we are super excited because we've got a new album that is coming out. It's called Work Hard and Be Nice. 17 songs, that's right, you heard it, 17 songs filled with optimism and stories about how we get through challenging times and still hold on to our humanity. We can't wait to get back out on the road with you guys, so stay tuned to all of my socials. You'll get the information first about when we're going to be touring next. In the meantime, enjoy all the songs on the album, Work Hard, Be Nice. You can Spotify it, you can stream it all over the place, you can download it on iTunes, you can even get the CD from michaelfranti.com. So check it out.
At the Neighborhood Theater, and we just got done playing an incredibly energetic show here on a Wednesday. Is every Wednesday night like this in Charlotte? Man, just like wild style. And we are super excited today because we have a very, very special guest. This is Trevor Green. He's been traveling with us for about the last 3 shows. We're doing,
we're doing
4 or
5 together.
shows.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're super happy to have you
Brother,
on the
thank
tour.
you.
Yeah. And I really don't know anything about you, so we're just going to shoot the shit.
Good thing.
And I'm going to find out. I'm going to dig deep.
What do you want to know, Michael?
Well, the first thing I want to know is, where are you from?
I grew up in Southern California. Huntington Beach is like home. Right now we bounce between Huntington, Joshua Tree, San Diego. That's kind of home.
Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Do you like just go out there and like pitch a tent? And
I get lost out there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to think that I never saw the beauty in the desert until about, I don't know, it took a few visits. I played the Joshua Tree Music Festival.
Yeah.
A handful of times, and after meeting the community there, fell in love with it. And now I'm an ocean person, but I can see the ocean in the desert.
I love
now.
Joshua Tree Park. Has anybody ever been to Joshua Tree Park? Yeah.
Amazing.
It's incredible because you think that there's, I mean, I was the same way. You think like desert, you think there's nothing there.
Right.
But Joshua Tree is incredible because as you go up in altitude, it completely changes. There's like, all these different microclimates, and with each microclimate, there's like a different species of tree.
Yeah.
And then the Joshua trees themselves are...
I find the power there to be like the rocks. The rocks are really old, and they speak volumes there.
Yeah.
If you
so
listen,
you go
very
out
quiet.
and just hang out among the rocks? Or?
Yeah, I used to climb a lot, so that was kind of one of the reasons that drew me out there. But
like serious rock climbing?
It used to be pretty intense until I got these guys. And
what are those guys?
These are that's how I play. Yes. Yeah.
I thought you meant like you got some kind of superpower, like the Wolverine. So I got
they came out one day, man.
These
what comes out of this?
Yeah. These titanium talons.
Like Beauty and the Beast.
So you grow up? Did you grow up in Huntington Beach?
I grew up in Huntington. Yeah, that's hometown, man.
What was that like?
It's interesting. Orange County is a really interesting place. There's a lot of energy there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of unfocused energy, I find at times. So growing up there was kind of a challenge. But I always found I found music at an early age.
How old were you when you got into music?
My old man used to spin records, and he took me to my first Dead show.
Wow.
When I was 15. It was actually the night that, so he had me drive to the show while he was in the back with his buddies in the van. And I remember I was driving, and I saw these sirens coming down the 405 freeway southbound, and it was OJ.
Whoa!
In the Bronco, going in the Bronco, going the other way.
And
same night.
And you were going to your first Dead show.
Going to my first Dead show. Pretty weird, right?
That's a very contradictory thing.
Yeah.
But let's go back even before that, because I'm interested in what life was really like in Huntington Beach and how it kind of, shaped you. So what was your first like childhood memory? How did you grow up? What was?
Oh man. I'm one of 6.
Mm-hmm. One of 6 children.
One of 6 children, yeah. And so kind of grew up romping around with my siblings. Surfing.
Where did you come in?
I was second.
Second. Okay.
Yeah. And surfing was a big part of my upbringing. I spent a lot of time at the beach.
Yeah.
But yeah, music kind of came in, and it was really, I had it was an interesting upbringing. There was a lot of turmoil in the family. Yeah, and so
what kind of turmoil?
My folks had a hard, they were trying to figure things out and had a rough time doing that, and trying to manage 6 kids, just like you probably know the deal.
Yeah.
Trying to manage the kids, and when things are, so it was probably around that time that I was starting to struggle with the dynamic in the household that, I just withdrew from it, and I kind of close myself in the room and start plucking away, and that's how music was born for me.
And did you ever like take lessons, or did you just sit there and go?
Never. Just started.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I used to listen to a lot of. My dad listened to a ton of Tom Petty.
Oh, I love Tom.
Who's a very simple songwriter, beautiful songwriter, like one of my favorites.
Elegant songwriter, really.
But 3 chords,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, one of the most amazing songs is born. So I learned those chords, and I was like, I can play music. And from there, just taught myself.
Yeah. And so, did you immediately get into being in a band, or were you just kind of like surfing and just kind of enjoying doodling on the guitar? Or?
Yeah, jammed around with people and friends. High school, definitely played in a few bands. Played in an Allman Brothers cover band through high school.
Nice.
Which was really fun.
Which one were you?
I was Dwayne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was cool, man. Yeah.
I was gonna say if you were Greg Allman, you could have gone out with Cher.
Yes,
which would have been like
right?
pretty. That was pretty freaking awesome to say. Yeah, and so you guys had a Allman Brothers cover band.
Yeah,
and you were like one of the guitarists.
One of the guitar players. Yeah, so I would do like lead type stuff. That was my early like jam music. That was the Grateful Dead was my experience when music kind of like opened my world as far as live music.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, so journeying, jamming became like how I was my voice, and so I'd kind of put my head down and do this all night. Yeah. And then, I found actually a guy named Michael Hedges. I don't know if you know Michael Hedges.
I've heard of him, yeah.
Open tuning guru.
Yeah.
And that
I just
changed
talked to
my whole...
Keller Williams about him a few days ago, yeah.
There you go. Totally.
Yeah.
So that changed my world, and that's where the solo thing kind of started moving, playing with open tunings. And
nice.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're a teenager and you're really messing around with the guitar and stuff. And at what point did you start writing your own songs, or really like expressing your own voice?
You're going to like this.
Yeah.
So I moved to Chico.
Yeah.
And that's when it started. Like I started a funk bluegrass band there, and I started like putting together like song structures for the first time.
Yeah.
And we'd go out and do shows.
How did you manage to put together a band at the party capital of the
right.
world, Chico?
Well, this is where I became a solo artist, because the band was no longer.
Nobody could show up to the gig.
We actually used to do.
Or if they did show up at the gig, they didn't make it through the whole gig.
Right, that's what happened. We do the clubs, and then eventually the clubs like dissipated, and we'd go out into the orchards out in Chico, and we had an orchard project was the name of the band.
Sure.
And we would play in the orchards, and people just kind of do their wandering out and about.
When we were first starting out, there was this one time we had a drummer, and he loved to drink, and we were playing this gig, and then sometimes we'd go and play like house parties afterwards. We showed up at this house party, and he's sitting there playing, and we're noticing like the beat's kind of slowing down, and I'd be and like Carl would sort of like nudge him, come on, keep up, and then the beat would slow down, and then finally I look back, and the reason he was slowing down is because he was actually falling asleep at the drum.
So talking about house parties,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so this is the thing. Chico,
Yes.
you came to an after party
Yeah.
after playing the Brickworks.
Okay.
This is when I haven't been able to tell you this. I've been
Okay.
telling people for the
Nice.
past 3 nights
Yeah.
who you are in my life.
Yeah.
And that night, you came from the Brickworks to the after party, and I'm sitting in the living room just strumming like some funk riff.
Yeah.
And you rocked in and started freestyling.
Right on. I remember that. Yeah.
That was totally.
That was you.
That was fucking me.
Oh,
dude.
dude. Oh, full circle.
That was like, I think I was probably, I don't know, man. I think it must have been 17 at the time.
Wow. That's awesome. So then did you start writing your own music then, or were you still playing?
Yeah, I was starting to write then, but not like as a solo.
Yeah.
I was still kind of doing the Orchard Project stuff there.
And what was that music like? Like that what were you writing about?
At that time, I've always been inspired by something of a spiritual nature has always kind of spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that. It took a while to really get a full understanding of what was coming through lyrically for myself up until about 4 years ago. But that was really the gist of like how I would write. I'd go out into nature. I'd spend a lot of time, and so I don't really write necessarily. I don't have too many songs that speak of an experience per se, as much as it is like a right. Yeah, I have a few of those, but they don't come through very often. They're more of a mystical, spiritual realm for me.
Yeah,
yeah.
So how do you do that? Like, do you start with the melody first? Do you just like sit there and play the guitar and usually, that's cool, and you write it down, or how?
Yeah, usually guitar is first for me.
Yeah,
like melodies kind of move through, and guitar happens pretty much more effortlessly for me.
So for people who haven't seen you before, you're a pretty unique cat. You know, you're first of all, you're a one-man band.
Yeah.
And you're playing like footbox, you're playing a couple didgeridoos. What else you got up there?
I have my fingers.
Yeah.
Got my toes.
Yeah. Do you play stuff with your toes?
I do. I twist knobs with my toes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And you do looping too?
Do a little bit of looping. Yeah, that was something I did early on. Actually, Keller was one of my... So I traveled around with String Cheese Incident around the same time, and I was in Chico, and I spent about 5 years on the road with those guys. And that's when I
like just following them, or just
following them and then diving in. Never played with them.
Yeah.
But, hanging out, and they're that type of group. You know, and so that's where I met Keller.
Yeah.
And that kind of turned, I was like, solo guy, and he's looping. I could turn my show into a 3-hour show, and I could go play some gigs, and, so that's...
What was the hardest thing for you growing up? What's the toughest part of like being a teenager?
Toughest part of being a teenager, man. I was a really quiet person, and so super introspective for the most part. And my music really, it still is my voice. I'm not a loud person in social scenes. So being quiet and trying to feel comfortable amongst a group where seemingly everybody's comfortable, but really they're probably not comfortable. It's like but at that time it didn't.
Did you feel like sense of that? Did you feel really like sort of left out?
Definitely felt like out of the box a lot of the times.
Did you feel like the weirdest kid in the class?
Yeah, it wasn't like super crazy like that, but definitely felt I was quiet, man.
Yeah.
My music was my voice, and so going out and partying and like being in the scene was never my thing,
Yeah.
So. And
you surfed.
And I surfed. That was
And what do you love about surfing? What's the attraction for you?
The water. Water's really powerful to me. Something about being, and then the whole element of surfing, where it's real time. It's reacting in real time. It's very similar to music. And doing a show, because you're reacting to energy in real time. So being on a wave, you can't predict when your turn's coming, when you're gonna. It's just
every single wave is different.
Yeah, and so the mental state's gone. That's what music does for me.
Yeah,
is that it eliminates. When I'm not thinking, I'm doing I feel like I'm in my most.
When you do a show, because as as a leader of a band, for me, like I'm working and making a set list, and then we go out and we play the set list and we deviate from it and change it and stuff like that.
Sure.
But when you're like doing your own thing, like you don't have to tell anybody else.
That part's really fun.
And so how do you make a set list?
I never make set lists, man.
Wow.
Yeah, never. Actually, for these shows, I've had like an idea, just because I have a real strict time limit.
Yeah.
It's like, don't go into Michael's time.
Right.
Make sure you're done.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're damn right.
Yeah, right. But that, I jam a lot. So, I'm not thinking time.
Yeah.
Some songs that are, 8 minutes one night could be 15 minutes the next night.
Yeah.
So,
And you've only got 15 minutes.
I only got 15 minutes, man.
No, we give them 17
We
minutes.
got 17 last night, yeah.
So I want to open it up to you guys. You guys have any questions for Trevor? Okay, fire away.
So many questions.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Franti here on the Stay Human podcast. A few years back, my wife Sarah and I decided that we would start a nonprofit with the intention of bringing people with advanced stages of life-threatening illness, children and adults with special needs, and wounded veterans to see any live concert by any artist in any city in the world. And from that, Do It for the Love was born. If you have a friend or family member who needs music in that way, just write to us at doitforthelove.org and we'll make sure to get them out to see any concert in any city by any artist. Do it for the love, y'all.
I'm the overachiever. No. So when you went to your room and who bought you your first guitar, and then do you know how to read music, or did you just listen?
Yeah.
And play?
Cool
there's
question.
2 different ways to
Yeah.
learn music, right?
Yeah. So
And
my.
then-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Who taught you the didgeridoo? Because
Okay.
that is different.
Yeah, so the first guitar I got was I took my dad's classical, but the first guitar that was actually mine, my mother bought for me, and it was a 12-string guitar.
Wow.
And that's 12-string is
That's
like
unique because
yeah.
that's a beast to
Yeah.
try to get.
Right. So
It's
what-
a
It
beast
is.
to get your hands around. It's a beast to
Can
tune, and if you
did
break a
read
string, it's
Yeah. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. If there is a guitar, it's the 12-string for me.
yeah.
And I don't read music. No, I don't know how to read it. I don't know how to write it.
So it's a feeling.
It's just all feeling for me.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Do you know the names of the chords and the names of?
Yeah, I mean, I can. If somebody says play a G chord or play
Yeah.
this, I can do that. But
Yeah.
if they're like G fifth or set, whatever, I'm gone.
That's like me.
I can hear it though. If you
yeah.
play it, I can follow you, and I can.
I
get
taught
there.
myself how to play guitar, and when I taught myself, well, first of all, I was in Cuba, and there was this whole group of musicians from the U.S. and Europe who were collaborating with 25 Cuban artists.
Cool.
And so we're out there in Havana, and everybody's like at the night they're passing around this acoustic guitar, and they're closely followed by a bottle of rum, and everybody's smoking these Cuban cigars off into the Havana moonlight, and I'm like, Gladys Knight was there,
Oh,
and Mick
cool.
Fleetwood, and all these incredible artists, the Indigo Girls, and all these artists are like singing these songs, and then the Cuban artists are singing like these wonderful boleros off into the Spanish
Beautiful. Yeah.
moonlight, and I couldn't understand the words, but I felt like the music.
Yeah.
I felt the voice and the guitar together,
Yeah.
and so I fell in love with that idea of the voice and guitar. So I swore to myself, I said, I will never. Come on, Carl.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good.
All right, so I said to myself, I will never, ever again be caught in this situation where I don't know how to play guitar. Because when the guitar came to me, I flipped it over and I played a beat on the back, and I was trying to rap. And like these artists that spoke only Spanish, they're like, oh, great. Like, we can't understand a word. There's no melody. The beat sucks because he can't really play guitar that well, And so I went off, and like 2 years later, I still hadn't learned to play guitar, and finally, Emily from the Indigo Girls taught me a G chord. That was the first chord I
Wow.
learned, and then that was it. I just played G over and over again, and then I was like, all right, I got to take a guitar lesson. So I went and I found this guitar teacher. I go to one lesson. He says, all right, come back next Tuesday. I want you to practice all these scales, these chords. And I come back the next Tuesday. I hadn't practiced, and I went up to Humboldt County, and I was staying at this guy's house who was a farmer
Yeah.
in Humboldt, and I smoked this big joint, and I sat on the porch, and I just went back and forth between two chords, and then that's how I learned,
Yeah,
and it was
beautiful.
like, then I started like sing on top of it, and I was like, wow, like when you change the chord, like even if you're singing the same note, it sounds like you're singing something different,
Yeah,
and I was like. And I just fell in love with this like idea of melody, and then like the portability. It's like having a boombox. Like,
Totally.
you can carry anywhere when you have
Right.
a guitar. And yeah, I lived boombox. How old was I? I was like, how old was I, Carl, when I started playing guitar? I was like 35.
Yeah, about 30.
Wow.
So it hasn't really even been
How
that
did
long.
you get to this
There's
circle
hope.
in Cuba?
Oh,
Before you were
well,
35?
I was just invited. There was a whole bunch of artists that were there for like it was sort of like a cultural exchange,
Now they can't get that mating out of your hands.
Yeah, can't get it out
That
of my
thing's
hand.
beat up as hell.
Yeah. That's Mama Brown.
Yeah.
That's my only guitar I really
Mama's
play. I have
work.
I have another guitar that's a backup guitar, and she's the loneliest guitar because she only gets played if
My
Mama
daughter
Brown
lets me off your hand.
breaks a string. Yeah.
But
All right.
how did-
Any other? I saw a hand go up over there. Yeah, go.
Okay, iTunes, your most recently played artist. Like,
Good
on your
question.
iTunes.
Oh.
Who's my most recently played artist on my iTunes? Well, I don't use iTunes that much. I listen to records, like, or CDs, or I don't listen to too much digital stuff. But who's on there? Tracy Chapman probably would be.
Oh, we love Tracy.
Yeah.
Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer.
Big whammy.
All right, so I've got one last question for you. And it's the same thing I ask everybody who's on the podcast. And the name of the podcast is the Stay Human Podcast.
Yeah.
So in this world that is constantly trying to, or feels like at least, the world is trying to suck the humanity out of us. You know, it's like everything has become digitized. And everything, you know, your profile on Facebook becomes who you are. And your, you know, there's a number attached to your bank account that shows the world your worth, quote unquote, you know. So what do you do to stay human?
I think I do a few things, but to make the answer as simple as possible, I listen to the birds, man. The birds, yeah, they got a lot to say, and I feel like in that statement, what I mean is that I try to listen to what's going on outside of the human experience, because we make our human experience a very important thing. Not that it's not important, but the ego can overwhelm our experience, and all of a sudden we make ourselves very important.
Yeah.
The only analogy I can make was it was about 3 years ago. I was doing a sweat lodge with Chief Golden Light Eagle from the Lakota, and he was talking to us before we went into the sweat lodge, and he was talking about star beings and all these really wonderful things to hear about. And the analogy that he made was, because somebody had asked him, like, well, how do you see these starships, you know, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you ever walk through a forest and never saw the ant on the ground? You know, like, we make ourselves really, really important, but there's so much going on, and we're woven into it all. And the more that we can, I think, pull ourselves back and remember where we've come from and who we are as human beings and what we're tied to, the water in our bodies, and it's far beyond the mental thing, which is why I think music is for me so amazing and healing, is because it just rips you out of that. It takes you out of all that crap that you have, you know, even if it's in one day.
Yeah.
You know, and in that moment, like, everything's clear and you're connected to it all.
Yeah.
So that's for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, brother.
All right. So where can folks find you? Like, how can we find your music? How can we find you on social media?
TrevorandMusic.com is the official label.
Yeah.
But what are we doing? Gosh, we're touring all over. I think we get to do another show out west with the Michael Franti crew, which is exciting.
Nice.
I think that's like later in the summer. But yeah, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff out west. We're playing an solar eclipse gathering coming up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All over.
Are you on Instagram?
On Instagram, yeah. Trevor Green Music is the thing.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Across the board.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here
Brother,
on
thank you, man.
the Stay Human podcast today. Yeah. And thank you, Charlotte, for representing so strong tonight. And as always, we remind you to stay human. Woo-hoo! Thanks, brother.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Franti here on the Stay Human podcast, and I've traveled all throughout the world, and I've been to many inspiring places, and one of my favorites is Bali. I fell in love with its people and nature the first time that I came here in 2007, and at that time I had a dream to build a place that was dedicated to music, soul, and wellness. And from that, the Soulshine Bali Hotel was born. It's my boutique hotel located in the heart of Bali, surrounded by beautiful rice fields and the most incredible sunsets that you might ever experience. We do over 50 retreats a year, or you can just come here and spend a night on your own. So follow us on Instagram at Soulshine Bali.